I'm Keely Orr, filling in for Jordan. Like I said, that's Sean Cody. That's Max Brown. And the head coach is joining us. Lincoln Riley is joining us right now, getting in his seat. This interview is brought to you by I Trust Capital. Retire with crypto. Coach, I'm just going to roll us into this interview. I know you're a pro that way.
Let's do it.
Quite the win on Saturday. What did it mean to you and your team to come out victorious and pick up your 10th win of the season?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a fun atmosphere. Great game, obviously, great back-and-forth game. It's one of the toughest things to do in college football is beat a good football team at home on their senior day. It's just really, really difficult to do. It doesn't happen very often. And then on top of it, you know, we go down 14-0 pretty quick, without much momentum. And to see the team really weather the storm there in the beginning and then do some really good things the rest of the way was awesome. And then obviously great to finish it out, obviously the way we did. I mean, to get the interception, really pinned them down there, special teams wise, with a really good punt by Sleepy. Got the interception by Corey and then able to run out the clock offensively. I mean, finishing that game was the way that we did was really cool.
Coach, cool clip of you on social media kind of taking it all in after the game, watching the band, watching the cheerleaders, and just absorbing it. What was going through your head and what was the thought process there when you're sitting there just kind of get to enjoy it for a little bit?
Honestly, just watching the guys. That was my biggest motivation to want to win that game was just like for our guys, right? For them to be able to enjoy that moment. It's a big rivalry game. You're playing it in an iconic venue. Then you add the stakes that were there for that game, and just kind of how this whole thing has unfolded. I wanted them to win it and experience it, and so yeah, just being able to see them, interact with our fans, interact with the band, all the excitement, just kind of the joy in those guys' faces. It was just I just wanted to kind of sit back and see that happen.
Another cool moment at the end of the game was Corey Foreman's interception, which you referenced. And to me, it's not only cool that he made the interception itself, but he was the guy that was called upon to be at that rush end spot and make that drop when we've talked about that position group and some of the different faces that have been there. But it was cool seeing the hug at the end of the game. What was your message to Corey there? And what's a play like that do for a guy that, he's been right there looking for his moment. USC fans have been waiting for him to pop a little bit. What's it do for his confidence moving forward?
I think it can be a definite spark for him. And really, I thought in some ways, build it on having a really positive game against Colorado the week before. Did some really nice things in that game and obviously did some good things in practice, was able to build on it. And yeah, we had confidence in him in that moment that, he would get to the passer if called and then be in the right spot in his drops if called there. And he made a great play. I mean, he really did. It wasn't just an easy play, and you never totally expect those. You just don't know how those are going to play out. And he undercut that ball and made a great pick, did a good job getting down, which was really smart at that point too. And I was proud for him. I really was. That was obviously such a critical play. And he has been making a lot of progress. He has, and everybody wants to see instant gratification, instant results. But the reality is, in this game, it's a lot of work behind the scenes, and then those opportunities tend to pop up. And so was proud for him, and it can certainly be something to build on.
It's interesting because I think I've been in pretty much every press conference you've had here at USC, and usually you don't end with kind of a statement, but you did on Saturday. I just want to read it. You said, "I just want to say college football on the West Coast and here in LA is alive and well." What motivated you to end the presser that way?
Well, I think people need to recognize that a lot of things have changed, and this program's on a great trajectory. Chip's done a phenomenal job over at UCLA. I mean, the home games at UCLA need to look like that. They do. I mean, our home games need to be full. They do. I mean, and the products are there. Yep. And I mean, I think there's certainly part of putting the product out there, but then once the product's out there, people have to see it. People have to recognize it. And I think, what happens, like I said the other night, is every single person, however many people were there was a lot, but however many people were there, every one of them are glad they were there, whether they're a UCLA fan or USC fan. It was a great experience. That's what sports should be like. And then there's going to be a lot of people that wish they would have been there and they had a chance to go. And so, and I just think, maybe maybe football on the West Coast, college ball, maybe in the last several years hasn't been at its peak, right? Maybe hasn't been at the pinnacle of the sport. But that can change, but it takes everybody, and I think there's a ton of momentum behind that, and you see, again, I give UCLA a lot of credit. They've had a phenomenal year. We've had a good year. There's a ton of momentum. We got to do our part there, and then fans and all that have to do their part, because that makes the atmospheres better. That makes the recruiting better. That makes your home field advantage stronger, right? I mean, that's why most teams are so tough to beat on the road, because they have a tremendous home field advantage. It makes a difference. And so, I just think there's a really, really cool product here. And the history of this city has been when there's really good, successful, high-quality products, the following is unbelievable. And that's, I think, where we're headed here, and we're all eager to get there.
Yeah, Coach. I mean, quite an environment there. Everyone seemed fired up. When going into the game, there's a lot of talk around Zach Charbonnet and how great a back it is, and he had a great game as well. But Austin Jones, I thought, went under the radar the whole week. Obviously, you lose Travis Dye, and Austin Jones comes in there and just has a fantastic game. A lot of credit goes to offensive linemen. Those guys just have been blocking their butts off all year. But talk about Austin Jones a little bit and what he provided you guys with on Saturday.
Austin was great. He was very steady. Had some explosive plays, not only in the run game, but also in the passing game too. But honestly, I know I said after the game, he was exactly what we expected him to be. He's what he's been all year long, and he's been steady, and he's been right there for us. He's been a playmaker for us. He's had some games with a lot of opportunities. He's had a few where, we went with Travis or somebody else a little bit more, but no, he was awesome.
And the catch off the shoelaces too. Oh man,
what a play! Yeah, what a play. I mean, then what a big play that was in the game at that moment. So, no, he's awesome, and his overall play in that game was at a very, very high level. And you're right. Charbonnet's a good player, but we were pretty happy that with the guy we had.
It's cool to see how the storyline this offseason was all these transfers are coming in. How are they going to mold? How are they going to mesh together? And then now you watch that UCLA game and you're like, man, the camaraderie on this team is phenomenal. All these guys seem to love each other and celebrating and whatnot. Did you adjust anything, or have you adjusted anything in the offseason or early on in the season to try to fast track those relationships and molds, whether it was weightlifting groups or how guys sat at dinner or even little things like that you adjusted at all to try to have this roster mold together and have that brotherhood sooner rather than later?
Well, yeah, I mean, everything is strategically done. You do it the best you can, and sure, I mean, we've done. Yeah, you name it. I mean, we've tried to organize it and put ourselves in position and put our guys in position to grow those relationships, but they still got to do it right at the end of the day, and you still have to have the right people at the end in the building. And I think maybe the best thing we did is we said we weren't going to use the fact of how this roster was constructed, or some of us haven't known each other for a long time. We weren't going to use that as an excuse where we could be at the end of the year and say, oh, well, we just didn't have time to get to know each other. No, yeah, we did. Yes, we do, but we're going to have to, like anything, if you have less time, then you have to put more into it to get it done. The bottom line is going to be you either get it done or you don't. And so we really pushed the guys. We pushed ourselves that way to really we took a lot of time out of when we could have been teaching offensive or defensive schemes, because in the off season, you only get so many hours a week with these guys. It's not very much. And so you got to be very picky with every minute, right? And we took a lot of time that we could have been teaching more football specific things, and we put it into culture and team building and kind of those moments. And I'm glad we did. I mean, it's in the moment I knew it was right, but then also part of you wants to be, coaching this scheme or this technique or this fundamental. But we just said at the end of the day, we can coach all the scheme and technique and fundamentals we want. If this team's not close and doesn't come together, we won't have a shot anyway.
Yeah, what's the Venn diagram, if you will, of brotherhood chemistry versus X's and O's? How does that all align together? Well,
you need both at a high level. I mean, it's if you're schematically and fundamentally and all that great, but your team's not rock solid together, you're gonna show cracks at some point. You're gonna get exposed. And then the flip side too, right? You can have a bunch of buddies that love to yuck it up, and if they're not very good at football, it's not gonna be very good either. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it really does. It takes both, and it takes both at a high level. And you go through these different challenges. You go through them in the off season too, but when you go through them in a season, it's so public, right? Everybody wants to win so bad. There's so many new challenges and things that you haven't faced together, and if it's not pretty rock solid on both, the cracks show up pretty quick.
Coach, one big rivalry down, one more to go. Before we go into the X's and O's, probably next segment, what do you expect this Coliseum to look like? You talked about it a little bit. Los Angeles is getting a 10-1 team here. We're getting a USC team that's on the rise. We're getting a rivalry game. I mean, this Coliseum has got to be packed, right? I mean, this place should be pumping on a Saturday.
That's my expectation. I mean, it is.
You hear it, Trojan fans. I want to see you out there, man. You can't call yourself a Trojan if you don't get to this one.
No, that's right. And I mean, like, we haven't shied away from day one with the championship expectations that we have as a program. Even here being year one, we didn't shy away from it for 1 second, and I would expect our fans to do the same.
Go for it.
In terms of this past week, starting slow a little bit. That's 2 weeks in a row where obviously got down, or at least this past week, 14-0. What's the fine line there of, the coaching point with that rather than overemphasizing it and it being now something that guys are thinking about so much that they start slow as a result? Like, how do you juggle that? Is it something you address, or is it something that you shrug off and go on to the next week?
Well, each game is going to be its own kind of deal, and honestly, we've been a pretty fast starting team when you look at the entirety of the year. And so I think if you sense a pattern, or if there's something that a team's repeatedly maybe not doing well at the beginning, then you certainly address it. But at some point, you go play 11 or 12 games, like, you may not start off perfect every single game. So I think it's kind of to your point, it's, do you see something specifically wrong with it that's repeating itself? If so, all right, how do we adjust? Now, is it just something that's going to happen every now and again, especially when you play good teams? Yes, and from what I saw the other night, I would chalk it up to that. I mean, I thought we were, we were obviously drove it down there, didn't score on the first drive, had a really good first drive, made some unforced errors. We get a 3-and-out defensively right off the top. We get the good punt return. I mean, we were close to really doing some good things there early. So I think our team was ready to play, but that's, you guys have been in them. That's how some of them go. And you just, whether you go start off 14-0 up or down, like, there's so much game left. And so you just got to keep playing regardless.
Coach, like I said, USC versus Notre Dame. I feel like people wrote off this Notre Dame team early in this season, but they've had a 5-game winning streak. What have you seen from this team as of late?
Yeah, they're playing really well. You got to give them credit. That's not easy to do when you don't start off the season maybe the way that you dream up, and they've really rallied. Their quarterback has now had a chance to play some games and has settled in and has played well for them. And they've had a pretty good year defensively, honestly, the entire year. They're a good defense, and so they've done a really nice job on special teams, been really good in a couple of those areas. Have blocked a bunch of punts. So a good football team, and they've rallied. They've beat some good people and playing some good ball right now.
Coach, what specifically have you seen from Coach Friedman, his first-time head coaching? What have you seen his transgression throughout the year as a coach, a defensive coach, obviously, but how he's become a better leader as the season gone on?
Yeah, you can tell he's done a good job. I mean, it's not easy to do. Your first go-around, it's there's a lot to it and a lot more than you realize, and certainly a lot more than the outside realizes when you get into that chair for the first time. And then when you go through some of that adversity for the first time, it's not easy, because now, like, all of a sudden everybody's looking at you.
Yeah.
And like, okay, where do we go from here, Coach? And it's I remember, again, kind of just, it brings back some of the emotions of going through all that the first time, the ups, the downs, everything in between, and it's on you at the end of the day. And it's fun, but it's a lot, right? And so but you have to give him credit, their staff, their team, because they have rallied and played very well. And so he's obviously done a really good job with that team after the tough start.
Your first year as a head coach, what was the one element that you may have underestimated before you were actually sitting in the chair?
How many questions you can get asked in like 24 hours.
From people like us that are repeating the same thing?
No, honestly, not even like media, just like, I don't even know where to start. Like, they'd come in there and ask me, hey, we want to change the carpet in this. What color do you think? I was like, I don't give a about the carpet. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, but like when you first start off, you've got all these people and they all want to know do you want this like this? Do you want this like that? How do you want this person to do it? Where do you want this person's office?
Not just the football department. It's every department.
It's way less of actual football. It's honestly it's a lot, and you've got to draw some lines, and you got to delegate, and you got to figure out kind of what leader you're going to be and how you're going to set up the staff to, do the things that you're not going to do, and then have the things that you are going to do. And there's a lot. I mean, it is. I don't know that anybody that goes through it for the first time couldn't say that's a little overwhelming. Yeah. I mean, it is, and I think anybody would say it. But you learn, you kind of get settled in your ways. People get used to your leadership style and how you want things done, and you adapt. And that's what's helped us so much here. Again, not being a totally brand new staff and so many people that were, kind of knew our rhythms and kind of the way we wanted things has certainly been an aid here in year one.
You got the carpet color out of the way early on.
No, these people just know not to ask me.
No, don't send that to them. Don't send that to them.
Yeah. Now, obviously, coming off a high emotional victory, it's going to be senior day on Saturday. What's your message to the team heading into this game?
Well, I mean, there's so much. There's so many great reasons to want to play this game and play well that, I mean, it's hard to, where do you stop, honestly? I mean, it's the opportunities for this team, getting a chance to play in a historic rivalry. Obviously, the last chance for this team to play in the Coliseum, to contain the momentum we have. I mean, just a good chance to go out there and compete against a good opponent. It's awesome. I mean, it's how you would hope to be, finishing up a regular season. It'll be a great setting. It'll be a lot of fun. Our team will be extremely excited to play this game.
So my dad had a question for you. He's got to ask this question. He said, what's up with the pooch kicks, Coach? He wants to know about the pooch kicks on Saturday. What was the theory behind them? What was happening? He wanted to know. He was like, Sean, you better ask him about the pooch kicks. I was like, I don't know if I should ask him about the pooch kicks.
Yeah.
Big pooch kick guy.
Yeah, there we go. We wanted to change up some of the locations. They've done a nice job on kickoff return all year, and you keep giving a good team a lot of shots at it. There's different strategies and thought processes behind that. Hit the first one pretty decent, but the second one we just didn't hit a good kick. I mean, we hit it about 10, 15 yards short of where we wanted to kick it, and guys did a good job covering. We honestly probably should have just kicked that last one deep, so that was my fault. Wish we would have in hindsight, but. Listen, these calls, I mean, that's how they are. You go in there and hit a perfect pooch kick and right in the spot, and they get no return. Everyone's like, oh, man, what a great call. Great job on that. That's the nature of the beast, is you get these guys as ready as you possibly can. You make the best call you can in the moment. Guys got to go execute it, and then you go back. And if there's things you can do better, which there was, then you correct it and you move on.
There you go, Dad. That's the answer.
Done.
There's the answer. When I look at Notre Dame past few weeks, I mean, is a quarterback back up to start the year. He's not putting up big-time stats in terms of the quarterback position, but they're still finding a way to score points. What's the key defensively for you guys this week?
I mean, I think try to make them one-dimensional. Obviously, they do a good job running the football, and then they've obviously done a really nice job in some of their play actions, and then certainly involving the tight end. He's really a tremendous player. He's definitely one of the best tight ends that we've played, and one of the best tight ends out there. And so a lot of their offense kind of starts there with run, with play action, and then certainly involving him in the throw game. And so we've got to do a good job there and try to make them one-dimensional, let our pass rush get heated up. And then obviously we've done a tremendous job of turning the ball over and getting turnovers and making those big game-changing plays. And we've got to create those opportunities and go make them ourselves. And then, again, I think against a good team like this, it's about a team effort. You mentioned – maybe their numbers offensively aren't off the charts, but they have scored points, and it's because they've gotten stops on defense. They've made some big plays on special teams. I mean, there's other ways as a team to make that happen other than just going out there and producing all that offensively. So they've gotten the most out of their offensive production because of doing some good things on all three sides of the ball.
Hard to believe we're already at the final game of the last final game in the Coliseum, but the Trojans will kick off at 4:30 on ABC. Look out for the Trojan Tailgate Show here on the USC Trojans Media Network starting at 2:30.